senior fresh students, and I'm Dr. Frederick Sheedy. I'm the course coordinator at junior sophistry year for our immunology moderatorship in the School of Biochemistry and Immunology, that we hope to attract you to if you've got an interest in immunology, if you want to find out more about our body's natural defenses against disease, and also how we can manipulate and use this for therapeutic benefit. And of course, immunology is everywhere now. Resistance to it is futile. We hear about vaccines, we hear about the disease COVID-19. It's a really amazing time to be studying immunology, and with everything that's going on, it's really challenged everything we believe and we hold sacred in immunology, and we're, as immunologists, learning so much more. So it's a great time to study immunology. So in this short video, I'm going to take you through, I suppose, 4 important questions that I hope will you can ask yourself and decide if then immunology is for you. And they are: what is immunology and why it's important to study it? Why immunology at Trinity College Dublin? What will you study and how do we teach in your sophistry years? And then what you can do with a degree in immunology from TCD. So here's someone you'll be familiar with, Professor Cliona O'Farrelly from the Immunology and Infection module, if you've done that in the senior fresh year, and she's going to tell you a little bit about immunology as a science.
So Professor O'Farrelly, as the link between the freshman and sophistry years, can you tell the students briefly what immunology is and what it's become over the last few years and why it's important to study?
Fred, that's an impossible question. Briefly, when we talk about immunology, absolutely impossible. Immunology has to be one of the most fascinating topics, and it has become even more so in recent times as people realize that studying the subject isn't just about understanding how our bodies respond to infection. That's how it used to be studied for maybe 100, 150 years, and which in itself is hugely fascinating. And as clearly evidenced by the COVID epidemic, we still don't understand. But what has emerged in the last 10 or 20 years is how important the immune system is for our bodies to be able to respond to all sorts of other challenges, like the growth of cancer or tissue damage, and how it has such an important role in maintaining just the homeostasis of our bodies. So clearing up when there's tissue damage, getting rid of dead cells. Fred, immunology touches everything.
I agree, it really does. And this is why it's so important to study, so we can have great graduates who can tackle all aspects of disease. And as you talk about the levels of immunology, what we've seen in the last few months is immunology is everywhere. It's in the news, it's in the papers, it's in the medical practice, the hospitals, the GPs. It's not just important to create scientists anymore. Immunology is a really important subject to study for multiple careers, right?
Exactly. You've hit it in one there. There's a multiplicity of paths, of career paths that a person with a degree in immunology can follow. And, some might do medicine, of course. Some will go into university research, some into industry research, some working in law or business or economics. But one of the really exciting areas which really became so obvious during COVID is in science communication. We really need people who have a good understanding of immunology to be able to discuss these immunological topics with all sorts of people.
Okay, thanks very much, Cliona. And just to say that the other thing about immunology is it's also about how we can apply this knowledge to develop new interventions. And of course, we hear so much about the different vaccines these days, and they're being politicized so much. But as a scientist, we're the people who develop them, who can communicate about their use and advocate for their proper use. But also, more than vaccines, immunotherapies, immunomodulators, lots of potential in this area in years to come. So why immunology at Trinity College Dublin? Well, as you'll have seen from just opening a newspaper, turning on the TV, we have world experts in immunology here in our school here. Here I have one of our experts.
So Luke, why is Trinity a great place to study immunology?
Well, first and foremost, we've got some fantastic immunologists. There's so many of us in our School of Biochemistry and Immunology. We've got world-class immunologists in our school. So if you want to do a degree with the best in the world, come to us, because we really are the people who know what we're talking about. We've got international connections all over the world. That's very important as well. And this reputation is about our research. So we've got a really good cohort of immunologists.
Luke, can you just give a little bit of advice to all of our senior fresh students about picking a moderatorship for next year? What would you say to them how to pick?
Well, it's very important to have a good think about it, because you don't want to pick the wrong one, because then remember, you will do well in stuff you like. That's the first thing, you know. So try to pick something that you really enjoy. And then secondly, think where the future is. I mean, there's no doubt certain parts of the science curriculum and the topics is all about the future. And things like immunology, biomedical research, really hot at the moment. Great career prospects. And remember, you can make a difference, because we're working on all these diseases like COVID and like cancer and inflammatory diseases. You can come and join us on that big adventure. So try and pick something that you like and that you think might actually make a difference.
So thanks very much, Luke. And as he said, and just to point out as well, we have state-of-the-art technologies. We work closely with biochemists, which has led to the formation of new research areas in immunology, like immunometabolism, as Luke is an expert in. And we have close clinical links with St. James. And of course, there's a new COVID-19 research centre that is between TTMI, that's Trinity Translational Medical Institute, and TBSI here now. So what will you be studying? So as the course coordinator for the junior sophomore year, I'm well placed to tell you. So we had a bit of a restructure in the last few years in line with the new TR061 course structures. So in semester one, you'll do a lot of core immunology, so the basics of immunology, but also how it's applied to disease as 2 core 10 credit modules. In semester two, you'll follow up more basic gene regulation and apply that to immunology. But we also do the research skills in immunology module, which is more coursework based. There's a mini review involved in that, so it's more analytical. We also have quantitative problems sessions with various staff where you will analyze real life data, and there's an exam in that also. But we also have open modules, so these are modules that are taught outside our core discipline, so by staff outside of the immunology school, but are really important and required for the development of your immunology degree. And semester one, there's a core biochemistry module, and semester two, a core module in microbiology, specifically dedicated to pathogenesis of microbial organisms. And then above that, we have a layer where you can do Trinity electives. So you could do a Trinity elective in each term, or as we know, there's a little choice in that. So you can take one Trinity elective and one extra open/approved module in the term. And we specify what those are. And they can be genomics and systems biology taught by our colleagues in genetics in semester one, or a module in parasitology taught by zoology in semester two, which is terribly, terribly interesting. Of course, parasites are another form of pathogens that we sometimes neglect, and we focus a lot on single-celled organisms like bacteria, fungi, but we neglect parasites. So there's a lot of really interesting immunology going on in that area too. In the senior sophomore year, you'll get to undertake your capstone research project in immunology. And the past year, we've been very lucky that all our students did lab-based projects for a minimum of 4 weeks, and they could do this all in 4 weeks or do 2 days a week for 8 weeks, and it depends on the lab you're going into, the nature of the project, the nature of the work. But they've all done really exciting research projects, and I say to students every year, it doesn't matter where your project will be, you're going to be in a great world-class lab. And to accompany that, you have a module in advanced research skills that kind of takes on more analytical stuff, but also introduces you to more skills that you need as an immunologist, including computational biology, things like that, that are becoming more and more important. And then we have 3 core modules that we teach in semester 2 once the project is out of the way: general immunology, infection and immunity, and more about immunological disease and specifically immunotherapies. So as I said, lectures are obviously really important. We'll expose you to concepts. You're doing that at the moment, and we have practical science practicals. We're practicing science, although I know this has been impacted this year. You'll continue that in your junior sophomore year. We've been very lucky that we're able to continue with our junior sophomore practicals. You'll be in smaller groups, but you will be doing it. There may be 1 or 2 online practicals, but we're really passionate about getting students into the lab practicing their skills. And then you'll be doing more tutorials. You'll be assigned a senior member of staff to help you with assignments, revision, things like that. You'll be doing the mini review, so you'll be practicing your writing, your presenting, your analytical skills, and then finally be working independently in fourth year on your capstone research project. Don't just take my word for it. Let's talk to a current student in her senior sophomore year about what the degree has been like, but also how it's been impacted by COVID-19 and how we've responded to that. So Yunzi.
Yeah. So Yunzi, you're in your senior sophomore year. You're after finishing your project, and you were in junior sophomore last year when COVID-19 became a thing. How has it been being an immunology student during that time, and how has it impacted on your learning as well as other things?
Well, you know, it makes me feel extremely proud to be studying immunology. Like, we've all had a front row seat during this pandemic, and we've seen how important, relevant, and essential immunology is during this pandemic. So with COVID, you know, despite everything that has been going on, the fourth year immunology students, we were still able to go to TBSI and complete our capstone projects. And we've had the opportunity to, you know, participate in cutting edge research, even though COVID prevented us to attend lectures in person. However, all the lectures are provided online, and all the lecturers are so helpful and they're so accommodating as well and understanding, and they're always there to make you feel, you know, if you needed help, they will always be there for you. So it was great.
So what can you do with an undergraduate degree in immunology from Trinity College Dublin? Well, a lot of our graduates do further study, either through masters or PhDs. That's about 50% within Ireland, but also abroad. And some of these are much more specific masters, like translational oncology, or some go abroad, and a lot of students do PhDs abroad or within the school as well, and then can go on to develop a career in academia as PIs like myself, or postdocs, and we have a lot of very senior postdocs in the school here. A lot of our graduates go on to the biotech industry, and this is something that's growing more and more in the last few years. And a lot of these would go from after the PhD level to go into more senior management positions, but more and more there's opportunities after the undergraduate with an undergraduate degree to go directly into industry as well. And there's lots of various programs doing that. And there's lots of companies that have started to set up in Ireland, and specifically in the Dublin area in the last few years, in there's monoclonal antibodies, vaccines. So lots of opportunities there, especially for immunologists. And of course, there's lots of other crossover careers. We have graduates of the school that into consultancy. We have one who's a head chef at Ballymaloe, and I always say cookery is a lot like science. We have graduates in journalism, and as Cliona said earlier, science communication is so important, and we see that now. And we even have graduates who've gone on to careers in sports nutrition, things like that, which obviously the immune system is really important in that as well. So again, let's not take my word for it. Let's talk to one of our graduates who's doing amazing things. So Jonah.
Sorry. What are you doing in your PhD?
What am I doing? Yeah. So it's a PhD in vaccinology. GSK is a huge vaccines company, so everything they do is about vaccines. I work with adaptive immunity and really modern techniques on how we can make new types of vaccines.
And when you were an undergraduate here in Trinity, how did doing your degree in immunology shape your career or your aspirations, I suppose?
Yeah, so when I was doing immunology in Trinity, I think the biggest thing was that I enjoyed it. So we learned a lot of different things about immunology, and mainly I had a good experience learning those things and applying them. So when we were doing experiments in the lab and stuff like that, so I would learn things in lectures and then able to apply that in a more practical sense. And I enjoyed that, especially in my fourth year in immunology. And that kind of confirmed to me that it was something I could see myself doing for at least the visible future. And I'm still happy that I'm doing it. So it was really the good experiences I had during the course and the interesting course material that led me to kind of be inspired to keep going.
So, and the last thing I'll say as word of advice to any students is do what you're passionate about, because if you're passionate and excited about something, it won't seem like work, it won't seem like study, it'll just be something you really want to do, and then you will do really well. So that's my advice, and good luck.